Hey people, I just competed with Mako, my 3 pound saw robot, at NHRL on June 24th. So here's a little tournament review, overview, post-mortem, whatever you want to call it. There's going to be timestamps below if you want to just skip to the fights. If not, we're going to talk a little bit about the design changes, and yeah, you'll notice I'm leaned back um, in relaxation mode. That's because there's a skylight right there that's blasting me if I'm close to the camera, and it's like 85 degrees in here. Um, so we're in relaxation mode today. Um, yeah, here we go. Let's get right into it. Here we are in fusion with my beautiful boy Mako. Um, at past G scroll, both of my Mako chassis took enough damage for me to finally be able to say, okay, I'll be reprinting them. So there are some changes I decided to make to them. See the beautiful art. We can't ignore that. But let's get inside the boy. First thing I did was kind of shrunk down this little shelf here where the top plate sits. Save a little bit of weight to where, the only parts that have more meat is where I'm actually screwing into. I don't think that will ever really be an issue, but again, saving a small amount of weight. The second thing is I added this little mounting section so I can screw these mounting plates in with plastites instead of they were bolted in before, and that's kind of a little annoying to get at. And if I can simplify things and only use one type of fastener, then I'm going to do that. Besides that, over time, this section right here wound up splitting, allowing the forks to rip up, which I obviously do not want. So I changed the geometry here a bit. I believe it was fillets before. Changed them to chamfers. They're a little bit more meaty here and here. And I also, on all of the bottom sections, before they were fillets, now they're chamfers. A few people on the NHRL Discord were like, you don't really want bottom down facing chamfers, but I was like, it looks cool, I like it. It's not a good idea, unfortunately, because the layer lines there are weak, it doesn't really print great, and it can kind of get ripped apart easier on there. I'm sure the chamfers are not great either, but better than fillets. Fillets? Fillets. Yeah. Oh, I don't remember if I ever showed this. My servo gets held in by this little holder thingy, screwed in on the bottom. I added just, some little thingies here to align it into the right place. So when I'm in the heat of the moment, it's not a headache trying to get everything aligned. I just plop it in, it sits in these little channels. Can easily screw it in. So I'm not going to waste, 2-3 minutes in the heat of repairs. Other thing I changed was, here are my old wheel guards. Here are my new wheel guards. So I saved a decent amount of weight there. So here's new Mako's wheel guards. Keep the fin aesthetic, but not waste so much weight on them. And this weight savings, by making small changes to the chassis, small changes up here, afforded me enough weight to be able to swap to a 4S battery. So I'm actually spinning as fast as Ricky will allow me to, the safety officer, at around 400 miles per hour. Showed you guys these forks. I've also got long forks. I don't know if I've ever shown in the video before. Where are they? There they are. What's interesting is that these forks, you can see they're much longer. they actually weigh a little bit less than those, because I'm not putting quite as much meat around there. I don't have as much meat on the little catcher horn. I use those in certain matchups. So these are like 55 grams. Long ones are like 52. And these beefy ones are like 80. So taking weight out of the chassis, taking weight out of the wheel guards, allows me to be more flexible and use these in matchups where I think they'll be beneficial. We're back on the main camera here. I don't know if I ever... looking at the wrong one. We're back at the main camera here. I don't know if I ever showed the audience these. My original wheels were molded and weighed like 35 grams plus a beefy mount. These, you can see, are actually mostly printed. Got a little rubber band around them. And then I cover that in rubber cement and then latex. I save a good amount of weight here. I think these are around 20. Molded ones were around 35. And like I said, I switched to a lighter mount. So that also afforded me the weight to be able to pop up to 4S. And here's my go-to saw that I've been using. It's been super durable, which you'll see in some of my fights. You can't just look this up on Amazon and buy it yourself if you want to. I promise. So blur that out. It's a secret. But yeah, this saw is good. So far, it's been good at cutting, durable. I like it a lot. So we get our matchups a few days before the actual tournament day. One cool thing is Mako was actually ranked in the top 10 of robots there that day. Actually, number 10, so just made it. That's a cool little achievement. But on to the stuff that matters. My first matchup is up against Loopy, Torque Walker. It's essentially Droopy, only it was cut down to be 4.5 pounds as NHRL rules changed. This is a terrible, terrible matchup for Mako. Second tournament in a row where I have to face a Torque Walker round 1. So it's going to be tough. I used those beefier forks I showed you in Fusion, if you looked, if you watched. Just with the idea of these will be more substantial, might help me slow them down a little better. When I was using these, I was just a little bit over 3 pounds, so I had to use my mini bot for this one. In general, I like to stay right up below 3 pounds, but really wanted to give myself the best chance at winning. So here we go.
All right, speaking of cool robots, we're going to Cage 5 where we have Mako and Loopy. Mako 4, in the pink corner, 3, rocking 2, the yellow jersey. 1. Loopy in the blue.
Robots fight.
These are two of the coolest designs that we have here. All right, so Mako is an overhead attack style robot. It is brought to you by Julian Papazan. It is an extremely well-driven, powerful machine, and it does a whole lot of damage to your top plate. But it's going up against a bot without much of a top plate, and kind of the best top armor you've ever seen in Loopy. Loopy is a kinetic walker with 2 extremely powerful, close to 1 pound horizontal blades on either side.
Loopy is part of the Droopy line, I believe.
That is correct. Loopy is the next evolution of Droopy, as a matter of fact.
And really, pretty much the worst draw for Mako in this tournament. So if Mako can get through this one using those forks and just trying to slam Loopy into the wall, that's going to be his best bet.
I love this description. Loopy is an experimental version of Droopy with AM32 firmware and a silly face. Most of the upgrades were added for the 2023 championships and removed to get it within the new 4.5 pound weight limit. Listen, Droopy, the, I guess you could say, forebearer or older brother of Loopy, has been a world champion here at NHRL not once, but twice.
That's huge.
That's huge.
He's on 2 banners here in this facility.
And Loopy's just here to have a little bit more fun than Droopy. Droopy's just a sad boy, you know? Just a sad fella. Does look like Mako's having a little bit of issue with that right drive side. This is a tough draw for Mako. Coleman Christie is driving Loopy. Coleman Christie, also of full court fame, current 12-pound champion.
Also has a banner here.
Also has a banner here. So the pedigree of Loopy is quite impressive.
And it just deleted Mako's smaller robot, and now...
Yeah, it's just chopping away at the functionality of Mako as this fight goes on.
And the functionality of our floor.
And everything else. Coleman is a phenomenal driver when it comes to full court. I don't know how much driving really comes into play with your strategy with Loopy. It's more like trying to control the chaos, reining the chaos in as much as possible.
Yeah, I talked to Tommy about Droopy and how he steers it and drives it, and he says there's no control mechanism. It's all in radio, so there's no computer system or anything to sequence it. He's just pushing sticks up and down to throttle up and throttle down each drive side. And I'm sure Coleman's doing the same.
And everything's still functional on Loopy at the end of that fight. Looks like the weapon is not really working on Mako, but the arm is still firing, and one half of the drive is still working on Mako. You gotta give it to Mako. That is a durable robot to take that many absurd hits from basically 1-pound weapon blades and still be able to move around the box, able to fire its weapon arm, engage with the opponent.
I'm impressed by Mako. He stayed together.
Very nice job.
So that didn't go great. Mako got thrashed around for basically the full 3 minutes. Literally like the 3 full minutes. Mini bot got obliterated. We're going to have to redesign that sucker. Yeah, really bad matchup. And not just a bad matchup in hindsight, just it's going to be tough to beat that robot type, and it's going to be extremely tough to beat what is essentially a champion robot. But Mako survived the full 3 minutes. Interestingly enough, I wish I had them with me, but the phase wires of my motors got ripped out somehow. On one side, totally ripped out, like half ripped out on the other side, which is why it was intermittent. But like right at the end, I had like half a drive side, but it was keep kind of moving with my saw spinning. I was able to pull off some new moves, kind of like a Dark Souls enemy, just spinning around. And you know, I'm here to fight, so even though I'm getting my butt kicked, I'm gonna keep trying to fight. Surprised that the saw survived, even when I was like, all right, hit him, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Mako got whooped. Probably the most damage I've taken in any fight. But I've got another copy ready, so I'm good to go. The next matchup here is up against Send It, which is another weird robot. It's got one wheel and one big horizontal blade. The day before, I was talking to Dima, my sister, and I was like, "Can I just fight normal robots?" But no, like in reality, I love the weird robots. But gonna use the same strategy, just try to get in there, jam them up, and spin my blade and cut into them. Let's see how it goes.
Now, we are going to go through Cage 2. We've got another 3-pound fight. Mako going up against Send It.
Really interesting design here with Send It. One wheel and one weapon.
Oh! So, ladies and I didn't get a chance to... Oh, look! It cut almost entirely through Send It. That is the deepest saw blade cut I think we have ever had here at NHRL. The penetration... Look at that slice, Adam.
That's absolutely insane.
It's gonna go again. Adam, that blade on Mako spins at over 400 miles an hour.
Now, I have in my notes here that Mako first started out
Look at that!
as an SSP kit last August. It's not an SSP kit anymore.
No!
Wow.
It's a Ginsu knife, is what
That-
it is. It is.
I've never seen a saw work so well.
No, it's. I'll be honest with you, Adam. We sit back at the jump.
Oh, he's going slow?
Oh, he's gentle. Oh, and then it's smoking. It doesn't matter. I'm sure he's got a dozen of those motors sitting back,
Wow.
cage side. Sometimes we go and we see these entries and we say, a saw blade, what are you doing? This is clearly well thought out. If you can take, this is the most off-meta weapon that you can have as a saw blade.
Yes.
And
You know,
this is the most effective implementation
Because
I've ever seen.
a saw blade and a hammer saw are very different things.
Yes.
That's just a straight-up saw blade slicing through an opponent.
I have never seen anything like that.
Again, taking advantage of these plastics and composites that are getting used in the lower weight class and taking a weapon that otherwise wouldn't work and real advantage there. Wow.
I want to see them hold that up to the light. It's like, you ever make garlic bread where you do a whole bunch of little slices that almost go all the way through? You put a stick of butter in between each one?
The only reason it didn't go all the way through is I think they just hit the hub.
Yeah. It wasn't a lack of weapon. It was just geometry. If they spun it around and hit it again, it would be completely bifurcated.
Just absolute luck for Send It there that they didn't slice the battery in half on their way through.
No, and they did slice some wires. You could see the puff of smoke when that shorted out.
Wild.
Wow. Let's go to a replay. I have got to see that again. Almost. That's a quarter of the way through. See,
and then the second hit, just so
oh,
deep. Over and over.
That is stunning. Listen, there are moments up here as a host where I just nerd out, seeing robot designs that you always want to see work, finally work. And that was one of those moments. That's something I'm going to take away from this event and just be happy about.
You know, drills were back a few competitions ago. Now saws are back.
Yeah,
drills, saws.
Fire came back last year. That had been written off for forever.
You know, I hear in the building there is a robot with projectiles.
Yes.
Just don't even know what to say. That was, as you can see, just a perfect match for Mako. Send It didn't really get out of their corner, unfortunately, but I got in there, hit them. They called for an unstick, so I kept hitting them. They were done at that point, but I was like, "Hey, you want me to keep hitting you?" And they're good sports. They're like, "Yeah." We're right in front of the big crowd, and we've got the commentators watching, so it's always fun to put on a good show. Ricky is my favorite commentator, so I probably let that clip run a little long because I absolutely love getting to hear him kind of nerd out about my robot. That means a lot to me. And here's a little trophy that the Send It guys gave me. At first, they gave it to me, and I was like, oh man, I guess I didn't really cut through them as much as I thought. But then I realized that, no, yeah, I cut all the way through it, and this is basically half of the top plate. So, this is a great one for the trophy case. The next matchup here was supposed to be up against Sheer Stupidity, a very cool custom vert. We got down into the cage. They tried to turn their robot on. Just couldn't get it working. The ref even gave them a few minutes, and I was, also wanting to give them time to get it up and running. Unfortunately, that just didn't happen. They're relative beginners. I'm sure anyone who builds robots, myself included, understands that sometimes you just can't get them working in time. That's unfortunate. Would have been a good match. I'm sure it's a really cool robot. But with that, Mako gets its second qualifier win. So it's through to the bracket. And the first matchup here is up against Deep Stone Lullaby. Deep Stone Lullaby is a 2-weapon vert. But it's interesting because the weapons are kind of wide apart compared to something like the Peter Bar kit. It's kind of Lynx-like. It's got like little cool wedge-like flap forts, whatever you want to call them. Fourth match, as we were walking down, I could tell the driver was really nervous. They were like, dude, if you pin me, I'm tapping out right away. And I was like, all right, just make sure you're loud and make sure I see. But yeah, let's watch.
And this is Mako up in the top pink corner there versus Deep Stone Lullaby. Mako is a extremely effective overhead attack bot. It has literally cut a bot in twain today.
Yes.
Which was a lot of fun to watch.
5,
And
4,
so bright
3,
that the color doesn't
2,
even show up on
1.
camera. It's
Fight.
just fully blown
Robots
out.
fight.
Deep Stone Lullaby straight into the wall. This is Mako's bread and butter.
This is anxiety-inducing right here. Are they going to get it?
Oh,
no?
Is that a tap? Is that a tap?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is so funny. They fired up their weapon and Deep Stone Lullaby said, no thanks, we're done. That's good.
I'm out.
We're over it.
I don't want to get cut in half.
All right.
Now that's pretty cool. That's your bot's so intimidating. You know, J-Mode pulls that move a lot. You know, spins up the weapon and the pin and waits for the tap out. So Mako doing the same thing here. Quite an impressive performance. You know, as a builder, sometimes you sort of fantasize about like what would be like the ultimate fight. You know, in Hammer Robot we talk about like a one-hit knockout. You know, just hit the battery with one hit. I think, you know, with the Hammer Saw, your opponent tapping out after the first pin, it's got to be up there in terms of like
5,
dream
4,
fights.
Hey, no
3,
thanks. Don't want the smoke.
2, 1.
So, true to their word, they got pinned early and they tapped right away. I saw that they tapped right away, but I decided I would spin up the saw anyway, excite the crowd, pull them to the center. But I was not going to attack them. I am ruthless, but if someone taps and I notice, I'm not a jerk. You know, just wanted to put on a little show. And Mako has to at least spin up. I mean, come on. But yeah, hopefully they're not annoyed by that. That's just, you know, if Mako gets a good pin on a robot like that, where all the electronics are concentrated in the back, it's very scary. Especially when I was spinning, again, like as fast as I can, 400 miles per hour. If I hit a battery, that could be hundreds of dollars down the drain. But yeah, great win. That's sort of the good ending. Mako takes no damage. They don't take any damage. They get to live to fight another day, and I get to move on. Up next, I've got Chainsaw Kitty. If you're a fan of NHRL, Chainsaw Kitty does not need an introduction. It consistently kicks major butt. It's funny because after the qualifiers, Kazai and I both saw that we were in like the same quadrant, and it's like I don't remember what we said. We were like, we're on a collision course for each other, and we were both excited about that. Probably both a little nervous, but it happened. We're both kicking butt all day, and here it is.
See what we got going on. Oh, in progress, Chainsaw Kitty and Mako.
Tap out.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a Chainsaw Kitty tap out. We caught it just in time.
That is the second tap out that Mako has been able to generate, I think, in a row. Just getting a quick pin, and right off the bat, the opponent does not want that saw to come down. Of course, earlier today, we saw Mako nearly slice a robot in half, and I think all their opponents also saw that.
It's intimidating being in the clutches of a hammer saw robot or a top attack like that.
This is just a straight saw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cutting through. It's still, like, the way it's impacting down with just the saw, it's got some serious bite to it. Check out that replay.
Wow, you see the one hit, and then no second hit.
I guess it must have cut through enough to do something to a wire, but it did not look that deep.
It looks like it's getting through the lid. Yeah, you can see it goes in maybe an eighth of a quarter of an inch, and I think they just didn't want to see that happen again. I wonder if it did cut something and they noticed.
Very much sucks. Well, Mako got the win, as you can see. Chainsaw Kitty did not work at all. It spun up like for like a millisecond and then died. So I got up around Chainsaw Kitty. I think I even was yelling before the first one, like, "Hey, do you want it?" They didn't respond. I could see Keziah messing with their controls, so they're trying to spring to life. So I have to go for the hit. Luckily, I only cut into the top plate. I didn't cut into anything underneath it, I believe, and that's because the arm was colliding with their motor. So that's sort of a good ending as well, because if we were lined up differently, I could have cut through a lot more for essentially no reason, because Chainsaw Kitty was just not going to respond. On the day of, I took a little credit because I thought, oh, well, maybe because I was psyched out, so they didn't get Chainsaw Kitty ready as much as they normally do, or maybe the battery wasn't charged, or who knows. That's not the case, because I has posted on the NHRL Discord about having trouble with their receiver, I suppose, or just their electronics overall, and it just happened to show up at a terrible time. So it could have been any robot in front of Chainsaw Kitty there, and Chainsaw Kitty just wasn't going to work. So that sucks a lot. But no hard feelings between us, because I gave me the top plate. You can see a little cut there, and it's super cool because it's got the Pepe Kitty Miser sticker from Teams. So this is one hell of a centerpiece for my trophy case. It's 100% a hollow victory, but a victory nonetheless. So NHRL made a little short, if you will, that is posted across social media, which makes me very happy. Showing the crazy cut from Send It and showing this. However, people are being dicks to Keziah in the comments because they're queer. They're not, a nerdy guy like I am. So people see them losing and being frustrated, so they're going to talk shit. Don't do that. You're just a butthole. I'm not going to actually do that because I don't want to scare my cats, but don't be mean to someone for caring about their robot. Like I said, it was going to be an exciting match, and Keziah is frustrated because Chainsaw Kitty didn't get to do what it does. We already said, like, this is going to happen again. Keziah goes to every NHRL they can. I go to every NHRL I can. They're constantly kicking butt and making it far into the bracket. Hopefully I can keep doing that. So we'll get to have the epic battle that everyone wanted eventually. The next matchup here is up against the greatest challenge, a Melty Brain robot, which is a unique and complicated robot design where they don't have an active weapon like some other robots. They don't have a motor spinning a big weapon around. Instead, they're doing some fancy computing, we'll say, with their drive motors, so they can spin the whole robot with the drive and also translate with it. So this is a tough matchup for Mako, especially because they're hollow. I joked on the way down with Dima, like, all right, I'm just going to do what I always do. Just pin them and just attack them right in the meat of their robot, right in the center. Couldn't do that. But anyway, I also put on the longer forks for this one. Let's see how it goes.
Mako and the greatest challenge. Ooh,
now
okay.
this is going to be good. Mako has got 2 tap outs in a row from opponents not wanting to be hit by that saw. Will they be able to make it 3?
So Mako coming off that big upset over Chainsaw Kitty.
5,
There's not a lot of meat in the middle of Greatest Challenge for Mako to bring that saw down on.
And Greatest Challenge has been amazing with their maneuverability all day.
Wow, yeah, for a melty.
This is a robot that is just spinning in place,
Incredible.
varying the speed of each of its wheels so it's able to translate around the arena. Absolutely incredible designs on these melty brain spinners, putting full 100% of their mass into the spinner, meaning that their spinner is at least 3 times as heavy as anyone else in this weight class. Usually you're not going to put more than a third, at most half your weight into the spinning mass. Mako now taking the worst of the wear from that heavy spinner and getting stuck in the wall, requesting the unstick here. That's going to be their only one of the match. If they get
Wow, that was an
again,
early one.
that would be it. Greatest Challenge just going and going, sending Mako flying on these hits, but also themselves. All Mako needs is one hit. If they can get that spinner stopped, if they can get him in the corner, if they can bounce him around and bring that down, you can see him getting stuck there in the divot of the floor. We're getting later in the night.
And there's some serious divots in that one. This is a
gotta be
post-loopy
careful
floor.
when you're running these forks.
Oh, okay, that adds a little bit of mobility.
As a drive system there to get themselves unstuck.
Very cool.
I've not seen that before. Now they're getting Greatest Challenge spun down, but Greatest Challenge is able to spin back up before Mako can get in. Mako just sending the weapon now into a fully spun up Greatest Challenge. With a minute and a half, we're about halfway into this fight.
Yeah, that kind of shows that he seems like he's getting frustrated at not being able to stop the Greatest Challenge.
Going on to Plan B there for a second.
Plan B, just send it.
Send it. Plan B usually is send it. Greatest Challenge really holding up here, hit after hit on Mako.
They look a little slow now, though.
They are slowing down. Are they losing battery power, or are they... Oh,
they hurt us.
Back up to speed.
I would imagine
Mako,
it can be more difficult, or maybe easier to translate when you're slower.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think faster the better. I don't know.
I bet the heading LED that you can see on Mako, or excuse me, the Greatest Challenge, that shows them which way that they will be driving forward as they spin.
Mako just waiting for that hit, just waiting for one hit, going just weapon to weapon now.
Wow.
Risky, but they're able to take these hits. They'd only got 25 seconds left here to make a difference for the judges. I don't know what they're going to be able to do with that on the outer ring of Greatest Challenge. Is very sturdy, but they're trying everything now. Maybe this is Plan C. Oh, you can see the saw blade is wobbling now on Mako.
Oof.
Greatest Challenge has got to be happy with their performance. Mako unable to do anything for the entirety of the fight. Greatest Challenge spins down at the end there, looking pretty much no worse for wear. Wow.
Very defensive, the Greatest Challenge.
Yeah.
There's just no way to approach them without getting impacted.
It's hard to even tell, you know, are they being aggressive or not?
Yeah.
As they spin around.
Mako wound up losing that decision. That's a tough loss. Similar to Droopy, they just kind of threw me around a lot. I didn't really take any damage, but just could never get that pin I needed. Maybe if I got one pin, I would have been able to deal the damage, but even then, they were a ring, so who knows? But regardless, like, when we collided, Mako just went flying, they went flying, and Mako is sort of more defensive, where I kind of sit there with the forks, like, come at me, come at me. So it was hard for me to knock them and then try to chase after them. As you can see, I never really did that successfully, because that was the path to victory. You could also see that the longer forks were probably a mistake. Once we got down there, I could see that the floors were really gouged up. That's just a rookie mistake by me. Having said that, that's not to take any credit away from the Greatest Challenge, because even if I had shorter forks on, it feels like even if I had like 10 minutes, I was just not able to slow him down and pin him where I needed to. That was an even tougher pill to swallow, the loss, because if I had won that, I would have been facing our other robot, Turbo Fiend, which was driven by my sister Dima, who was just running through robots all day. And if we had faced off in the next round, it would have been the winner qualifies. So that would have been spectacular. I really, really want to qualify for grand finals with Mako or Turbo Fiend, our new premier robot, apparently. But didn't happen this go around. I think there's a few tournaments left in the year for NHRL, and I'm going to be registering with both robots, and hopefully we get in. Because yeah, I sound like I'm repeating myself a lot, but I just really, really want to qualify. That would mean so much. I would probably cry like a baby. That's just like the next big goal I wanna get. But overall, Mako kicked butt. Unfortunately, I kind of got my butt kicked a fair amount too. And unfortunately, I won against Send It, who they were having problems. Their robot wasn't working as well as it normally does. Chainsaw Kitty didn't spin up. Their robot died. So like, I kicked butt. I made it far, almost qualified. Got a cool YouTube short from NHRL. But Mako didn't get to do its thing as much as I would have wanted. But yeah, great day. Turbo Fiend kicked more butt. Like I said, they were just running through robots. It was ridiculous. Hopefully we can get Dima on here to do a tournament rundown for that. We were just blown away by how well Turbo Fiend did. Overall takeaways for the day. While spinning at 400 miles per hour is spectacular, I don't know if I necessarily want to do that often. You saw against Send It that the motor smoked and that motor is dead. So I probably want to set up some stuff in my controls to where I have the ability to dial up to that speed, but overall I don't think I always want to spin that fast. And it was doubly frustrating because got back into the pits and I unbolted the motor and went to pull it off and it just wouldn't budge because it got so hot that it melted its way into the TPU arm and fused itself. So at that point I had to pull out the servo, replace the whole arm, which isn't a huge repair, but every minute counts. So I don't want to do that again. Hey, this is editing Julian. I realized that I forgot to mention that in the Greatest Challenge match, a problem arose where if my weapon was spinning up to full, the rest of the controls would sort of cut out. So you'll see, like, there's a point where Mako does like a 360, and when I just slam the weapon into the ground, that wasn't just frustration, it was the controls being funky. I think that's because the big motor was, or the fast motor, was drawing so much juice on 4S, it was messing with stuff. People have advised me to use a capacitor, so I'll be trying that next time. Back to normal Julian. Another thing is these wheels that I talked about earlier. They did well, I think, but also they require maintenance between rounds. I have to re-latex them, and you can see they're kind of damaged. I don't like the fact that I have to maintain them, even if nothing goes wrong, just because, again, that's time, extra things that I have to worry about between matches that can take away from other things. So I think I'm moving back to molded wheels, but I'm going to try to get them as light as possible because I've got wheel guards anyway. But yeah, what's next for Mako? There's a lot going on. Just took inventory of it all. Around 2 weeks from when this video gets released on July 27th, Cheddar Goblin's going to be competing. That's my 1 pound, well, 1.5 pound torque walker. I'm excited about that. It's sort of a second revision. Hopefully it can kick some butt, be super chaotic. Then, the week after, Turbo Fiend and Mako are both qualified for the G-Scroll Championship. I think it's the top 16 robots throughout the year. A few drops, so Turbo Fiend made it in. There's some killer robots there. Then we've got Mass Destruction on August 24th. The Boxels are putting on an event on September 28th. And then we've got NHRL on September 14th and October 26th. So those are the final two qualifying events for the year. I would love to get Mako another shot to qualify, but the way registration works, it's kind of a crapshoot. It's also kind of difficult because I just want to compete. So it's possible I register Mako for both of them, don't get into either of them, versus if I start working on a new robot, it's probably going to not do great at first, but at least I get to get in the cage. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably just going to roll the dice and hopefully Mako gets in. If not, there's a good chance that Turbo Fiend can get in, and that thing kicks major butt. So if that could qualify, that's great too. That's about it. A few tournaments went by where I did a bad job releasing videos like this. Sometimes I'm busy. I'm not great at talking to the camera, but at the very least, I'm going to try to gather all of the footage and just release, all the fights at least for these upcoming tournaments. So yeah, subscribe if you like this. Go to crouton.net if you want to buy a Mako shirt. That's it.